Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
Hello again, and welcome to And Now Comics. I'm Lou Gonzalez. Joining me this week is Connor Irving.
That's my name.
And John Seiler.
Hey, maybe this is a bad place to admit this, but I'm the one that stole Chris Jericho's AEW belt.
Oh, damn, dude.
Did like a fan do that? Or is it like a bit?
I do not know right now. But basically the story is that Chris Jericho had the belt in his luggage and went to a steakhouse and then came back and took the wrong luggage, and now the belt's gone.
That sounds like a bit.
Well, so now, but there's a police report, like an official police report.
Well, then I guess it's not, because
But then Chris Jericho
taking it.
But then Chris Jericho just gave a promo of him in a jacuzzi drinking bubbly, talking about how he has hired the best investigators in the world to go find the belt, and whoever stole it will be sorry.
Oh,
They
yeah,
might be turning a real they might be turning a real situation into like a bit.
It's the best kind of pro wrestling where you're not sure.
Yeah. It's interesting because I can't remember. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. The guy ended up getting arrested, but the same guy stole like 2 or 3 years in a row, like the quarterback's jersey of the winning Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
And he was like selling them like on the black market. And he literally was like sneaking in, like looking like he was a press member, and then just like putting his suit jacket over a jersey and then picking it up and walking out.
Oh, wow.
And that's like of the most one of the most guarded sporting events in like the entire country or world. So if that can happen there, then someone could definitely steal his belt for real.
Yeah, I guess so.
But we're also not a wrestling podcast.
Yeah, no, I can't do much to wrestling unless we're talking about 2004.
So I guess I'm going to cover a couple news stories real quick. The first one John threw in here, which is really interesting. I don't know if you want to break down the story, John.
Yeah, so first story part is that Adult Swim announced, with partnership with Crunchyroll, that they'll be doing a 4-part adaptation of Junji Ito's Uzumaki coming next year. It's kind of cool because it's going to be directed by Hiroshi Nagahama, best known as the director for Mushishi and Flowers of Evil, with a score by Colin Stetson, who worked on Hereditary, Red Dead Redemption 2, and
he's also like just a really good jazz guy.
Yeah,
just go check out Colin Stetson.
And it's really funny because like there was a Junji Ito collection anime that came out last year that did not have a lot of fanfare. It looked basically just like every other anime of any other season, not remarkable in any kind of way, and totally forgettable outside of, having the name Junji Ito attached to it. And there was like kind of like a fun story where Junji Ito was like not interested in having any of his works be adapted to anime after that. And when they started like throwing around names to him of people who are interested in his work, and when Nagahama came up as a potential person who wanted to adapt his work, he was immediately like, yes, I will, work with this guy. So even there's a trailer out for it. It's about a minute long. It feels kind of like
scary. Like it genuinely has like a presence.
It also just feels like no other anime out there. It's all in black and white, like it's comics. It's kind of animated like a motion comic, which I don't know if that's essentially like what it's going to look like when the official like trailer is out next year. But it kind of like having it stuntedly animated kind of works for the moodiness of it, and then the music that accompanies it is just kind of haunting. So it's like, like this is immediately like something I'm more interested in if you would show me this instead of like the Junji Ito collection.
Yeah, like it's definitely like very different and haunting. And I think it's interesting for like an American, like a big American like company that's I don't even know what you would consider Adult Swim, but for them to actually kind of get into this game of, I guess, partnering.
Adult Swim has been kind of dipping because I think like a lot of, or not a lot, but there are some companies in America, specifically Netflix, dipping their toe into the anime pool and doing like their own original stuff or officially licensing stuff for their platform only. Like Cannon Busters recently just came out, and that's like a wholly original Netflix show. And for Adult Swim, they fully funded the last 2 seasons of Fooly Cooly, Alternative, and there's like one other name for the other one, which is like the first one's like not great. It's like Fooly Cooly, but I'm a harsh judge because Fooly Cooly is like my favorite anime of all time. Alternative.
I've never watched the new season. Is it worth watching?
Let me see what they're called, because like one of them I thought was like pretty unwatchable, and from the few clips I saw of the other one, I thought was like pretty fun. But yeah, there's Alternative and Progressive. Alternative is not good, I think. Wait, no, Progressive. Progressive is the first one. Progressive, I don't think is very good. Alternative, it's like about a group of girls, and that seems a little bit more my speed. I saw the first episode of it. I thought it was really fun. I just haven't gone back and just kind of like went through it. But like Adult Swim's also doing a Blade Runner anime with
but the guy who did Cowboy Bebop and like Gurren Lagann and stuff.
It's Shinichiro Watanabe who did Cowboy Bebop. Also, if you have Netflix, Carol and Tuesday, which just recently came out on Netflix last week. Alex DeCampi also talked about how she wrote a couple episodes of the new Blade Runner. Who's like a really good comic book writer. But like, you know, Netflix is kind of getting into the pool of doing original stuff, and I think Uzumaki, it's 4 episodes, so it's like super self-contained. It's not like, you know, 6, 12, 24 episodes, which I think is very useful. You know, it's like it gets in there, tells its story, gets out, and I like that.
I'm very excited. Regardless, it looks promising. I've recently started diving into the anime pool, and this is definitely one I'm very excited for. Something that has the potential to actually scare me.
Yeah, every so often I do like a dive in and like blow through a whole show and then drop off of anime for a while.
Yeah, I can see that. There's like there's so much content in anime. You know?
There's just so much content in general.
Yeah. Like I'm 135 episodes or 34 episodes into like Hunter x Hunter, and I'm almost done, and I crave more.
I watched all the episodes of Hunter x Hunter there on Netflix, and I kind of hit a brick wall because I don't want to watch that show subbed.
Oh, fair enough.
Because for me, it's just so much easier for me to watch a show dubbed because I can do other things while I'm still watching the show. But I actually started watching. I don't want to like do this big deep dive into anime, but I also started Dirty Pair this weekend. Have you guys ever heard of Dirty Pair?
No.
So Dirty Pair is anime from like the mid '80s, and it's about these two trouble consultant. It's like set in like a cyberpunk kind of future, and they're like quote unquote trouble consultants, and their names are Kay and Yuri, and they're like these two like one's like super tomboyish, and the other one's like you know this kind of beautiful woman, and their code name is the Lovely Angels, and they go off on these adventures to kind of stop like certain things from happening. But every mission ends up with like such a disaster that they're more known as the Dirty Pair. So like they'll show up and they'll be like, "We're the Lovely Angels. We're here to like stop things." And like the Lovely Angels, they're like, wait, Kane, Yuri, that's the dirty pair. Like, they're gonna fuck things up. And it's just like it's like peak 80s like anime. It's like it's like 80s hair, like really great visual comedy. Like it's so good.
Okay. Yeah, I should try some more slice of life stuff.
Yeah,
It's not slice of life. It's like action sci-fi.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good point. That's yeah.
all right. So, this second story, because there's really not much news this week.
Pretty dry. And when is New York Comic Con? Sorry for my ADD.
Probably like October or something.
October? Okay.
I think, right?
I mean, yeah, it's October 3rd through the 2nd.
Okay.
Third through the 6th.
Oh,
okay.
Maybe I will try to drive up there and go to a day.
That'd be cool.
So this other story is, so Chip Zdarsky is hinting at him doing a new X-Men title.
Cool.
Yeah. Xavier Files, which does like a lot of like really cool X-Men content, put out a story that they believe that Chip Zdarsky is hinting at him doing a new X-Men title. And when they announced this new run of X-Men books with X-Men, Marauders, Excalibur, New Mutants, was the idea that there was going to be a second wave of books. And like I believe there's, like, if I were to probably guess, I would guess there's a Leah Williams book on the horizon. Chip Zdarsky also seems like a guy who, like, Invaders is ending, Spider-Man life story just ended. I think the only ongoing he's writing currently is, like, after those books are done, would be Daredevil. So it seems, like, and Chip's written X-Men before, so it's not like it's not unfamiliar with those books. And like, I think Chip is an A-list writer, and I think it's like, if you're gonna like have someone be the face of the second wave of X-Men books, without spoiling the person I would like have write a book later on the show, I think Chip Zdarsky is a very good person to put out there as like the front runner of like this next wave of X-Men.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I don't know, like, I have been talking about for like a long time, like, oh, was Marvel going to do something that finally got me over, which they have now done. So if there is an awesome writer or creator on a book, it piques my interest to like continue to read the X-Men, because like a lot of people our age growing up, that's I think like the 90s was kind of like the heyday of like when the X-Men kind of took off because of the cartoon and the creative people around the thing. So like, they're like my first comic thing that I was ever into. So it's nice that they're kind of back in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be definitely interested in that. I had one other story. If we still need to delay a bit.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 pages.
All right. So as Connor's finishing up reading House of X,
it's good.
So going back to something we've talked about a bunch, which was apparently. So John, do you remember talking about Poison Ivy's like costume change in Heroes in Crisis?
It's really funny you say that, because I went and picked up my books today, and I saw that there was a Harley Quinn Poison Ivy book that came out. And I'm like, oh, and like the writer is like not bad. Like, I forgot like who it was, and I was like, oh man, like that's cool. Like, I love like Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn as a duo. I flipped through it and I like totally forgot. I'm like, oh yeah, Poison Ivy is a new costume, and it's awful.
Yeah, it's Jodie Hauser is the writer.
Jodie Hauser, yeah, she's good.
So in it, I have not read it, but like there's like the preview and stuff. It like directly addresses like, so they like go into a mall. Well, they show like, oh, this is us hanging out, and kind of the results of Heroes in Crisis, which her pre-Heroes in Crisis costume was not great either. It was that like black and green like bodysuit.
Yeah, that like the new 52 costume. It's not good.
But like her new like
her battle armor.
I think it's like plant muscles.
Yeah, it like it's not quite it, but it reminds me a lot of like Frieza.
Yeah, I can see that. To me, it looks like they took like
or Cell, whoever you want to like, Frieza or Cell.
like it looks like somebody's like musculature, but instead of it being like red, it's green. So like, what's that giant Attack on Titan that's like all muscle, but like pop Poison Ivy's head on that and dye the whole thing green. But apparently, like in like the first pages, they address it and like they go to the mall and it, like people are like, why is that green lady naked? And Harley's like, oh shit, maybe we should have got new clothes. And then that's like a part of it. But then she goes to get her clothes and she's like disintegrating and she cannot hold her form. So I guess in this new book they're tying her further and further into the green, which is interesting. I don't know.
If the reviews are good for that Harley Quinn book, or Harley Quinn Poison Ivy book, I might pick it up. Because I mean, I legit like really love that pairing. I think it's way more fun and engaging than her and Joker kind of ever were. It's like I love that Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn or Harley and Ivy book that came out. Like I feel like it would be about like 12 years ago at this point. So yeah,
I guess that book comes out tomorrow. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely like it's interesting and like it's kind of good that they're addressing it because she does like I don't mind the way like her face and stuff looks now, like, and I don't mind them connecting her to the green more. It just still like her running around kind of naked's weird.
No one out of Heroes in Crisis got a good new costume. Like
Yeah.
the only reason I think Batgirl got that new costume was for that scene in Heroes in Crisis, and every time I see Barbara Gordon in that costume, it just like it looks worse and worse with each new artist.
Yeah, I still don't get the ears thing that they did. Like
the ears thing is like the thing that bothers me like really the least about it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. That's like way more form-fitting than her Batgirl of Burnside look. I was not a fan of, like, the costume grew on me, but I really like her, like, kind of sleek, black, like, kind of Batman-y look. Like, that's my preference. Or, like, even the, like, it doesn't really matter to me if it's in black or, like, the blue, like, the old cartoon. But I kind of prefer, like, that style. As opposed to like the Burnside, like the purple was like a bit much for me.
Okay.
I mean, the purple was like also a throwback to her like classic costume.
Yeah, I don't know why, but like when I think of Batgirl in purple, like my mind jumps not to Barbara, but to Stephanie.
Yeah, I could see that.
So like that's where I'm like, oh, it's like purple is like spoilers Batgirl color, like her colors. And like I kind of prefer like the Barbara with like the yellow gloves and boots, and it could either be the black or the blue cowl.
Yeah, I could see that.
But all right. So should we talk about House of X issue 3 that came out last week?
Your boy is done.
All right. So
a minute ago.
Oh, I thought this issue I had next to me was House of X. So it was actually House number 3.
Yeah, and House of X 4 comes out tomorrow.
Yes.
So
yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Ooh,
yeah, I have
Fancy
it in my hand
Boy,
as well.
which is Tomorrow Comics.
It's actually like funny because that's not the first book I'm reading. Because tomorrow is also the last day or the last issue of Giant Days, and I'm probably going to be very sad after reading it.
You're gonna be crying tears.
Actually, it will
happiness or sadness.
It'll actually probably be the last book I read because Giant Days I've been reading for like 4.5, 5 years at this point, and I have like never read a bad issue of Giant Days. It's like a near perfect story, and I'm like very sad to see it end.
So we kind of just like where everybody is like. So they kind of catch us up like right after Xavier Magneto talked to Scott, the Cyclops, and so he has his team, which is an interesting team because it's kind of X-Force-y, but not.
Well, like not only that, it's specifically like the events of Powers of X3, where they get this file from Nimrod, or they steal it from Nimrod. They do all this stuff. It's like a last-ditch effort, and basically it's like Mortimer Tiger gets the info that
they're building the Mother Mold.
Well, like the building of Mother Mold is what leads to Nimrod, which leads to the future that they like have a problem with. So
Mhm.
at the end of Powers of X3, Moira 10 dies and then goes back, and then like it's basically restarted, and the new Moira 11 is
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to remember. Don't have my issue of Powers of X open because one of the things we figured out last time, because you weren't when we talked about powers,
I actually have mine somewhere.
is that if you look at powers, as you're like, because there's 4 timelines. There's like X0, X1, X2, X3. I believe X2, which is the 100 years in the future, that is like that's the apocalypse timeline that we see. So what it appears is those are 4 separate timelines. So you have the 1000 years, which is where there's like the blue person, which probably means it's Moira. And then you have the 1, which is our House of X timeline, and 0, which we don't know.
I mean, like, I would have to go back, but the way I interpreted it was Moira dies in the last issue of Powers of X, and then is reincarnated, and her specific information from that Power of X timeline, or like is basically like what leads to this mission, where they're going to go and destroy that mother mold before it's
No. That is totally correct. I'm trying to look it up because
We've been pretty good with our predictions so far. So
yes. So, but in Powers of 10, number 3, I'm trying to look here. So there's the 4 timelines. So you have X2. Okay, so X2 is the apocalypse timeline. And then I'm trying to like scroll because it's mostly that. Oh, because one of the things is, so the red woman in X2 appears to be a Omega Sentinel. Maybe even like the Omega Sentinel. Because we see her in this issue as well.
Because I'm looking at the 9th life, or like the 10 lives of Moira and McTiger right
Me
now.
too.
Yeah, because at the end, they show the timeline that this is now one of the timelines ended.
Which by the way, we still don't know about Life 6.
I'm saying that's issue 5. We'll figure out what happens in issue 6, or what happens in Life 6 in issue or Power 5.
Yeah. So although it is Moira X, it's Life 9. And then she gets the download and is able to go.
But guys, they also gave us a huge thing in this issue.
Yeah, in the House of X3?
Yeah. You can now translate the Krakoan language, which I think is kind of the coolest thing.
Oh, they've given us that cipher before.
Oh, have they? Oh, I didn't know
I think
that.
somebody figured it out, but this is them actually giving it.
I think they printed it once before. I think they just printed every other issue to basically remind people, like, hey, you got the cipher here. Put it next to your Duke cipher, so you know what.
Yeah, I was hoping to drink more Ovaltine, but I guess I wasn't the first one.
I do want to get to one thing. So back to House of X3, like the team. There's 2 characters I don't really know because obviously we have Wolverine, Archangel, Marvel Girl, Nightcrawler, Mystique. The other 2 women I'm not familiar with.
Give me a second. I'm going to go find my issue. I think it's on this table.
Yeah, I'm trying to look and see if they named them. One of them is named Monet.
Okay, I'm looking at this issue now. So you have Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey,
Archangel,
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. Then there's the other 2 women. The one in tan clothes and the one in a Black Widow-y costume.
Yeah, that's Monette St. Croix. Who's she's been in X Factor and a bunch of other other series. She's cool. I think the other one is Husk, because based off of her skin kind of cracking. She's the sister of Sam Guthrie, who's Cannonball.
Okay. So the other thing I wanted to get to is in actually the first page is kind of Magneto and Xavier's responses to Cyclops when he says well, this is kind of a suicide mission in many ways. And it's oh, but you have to do what you got to do, what matters, and the righteous can never truly die. They live on. They're transformed into something immortal.
Yeah, thanks for
And
the pep talk before I die.
Yeah, but I still think this goes into what we saw in the first issue with those goddamn pods.
Okay.
And I think if you look at these people's costumes, so you have like the blue angel, like archangel, Cyclops is wearing this very kind of teched out suit. Wolverine's back in his brown and yellow. I think Nightcrawler's in his classic costume, so is Mystique, and then Jean Grey's in her 70s Marvel Girl costume.
Which
And
I
these
don't
other
understand.
Yeah, but then the other two characters are the only two kind of more modern day, newer characters.
Well, also Mystique has her classic costume.
Yeah, she has the skulls everywhere, her very 80s, 90s costume, which I don't even know why she has goddamn skulls.
Because skulls, dude.
Because
Come
she's
on.
Raven Darkholm. She can wear whatever she wants.
Yeah, come on, dude. Keep up.
Yeah, I do when they're talking and Jean Grey's what about the humans? And basically Wolverine's innocent civilians don't build machines that exterminate species.
Yeah, it's a very...
And she's just
He ain't wrong.
Yeah.
But we do see, so when they leave the Krakoa thing in it's not the Blackbird, it's more beastly because it's space travel, but they're also on the moon.
Yeah, man. Someone's got to overtake that Dracula base.
Is it that, or is it Adelan?
It's probably Adelan. Or near Adelan.
We do get as well the breakdown of the 5 different types of Sentinels. Our basic master mold, which makes other Sentinels. The mother mold, which makes master molds, which will eventually lead into a Nimrod, and then Omega Sentinel.
Yeah, mother molds poop out, master molds poop out, Sentinels.
Yeah, and then Omega Sentinels and Nimrods are they are created from nanotechnology, and then Omega Sentinels are
It's always nanomachines.
Yeah, well, I would say the Nimrod is kind of a T-1000,
Okay.
while Omega Sentinel is kind of what you see in the new Terminator thing that they just are doing.
Yeah, they're that new weird series offshoot.
Yeah, I haven't seen that new trailer. I think I'm just at a point where I'm I'll go see it. It can't be as bad as
really
Genesis.
It's going to be like Genesis. It looks like it's following the same kind of path as it.
But not as bad as Genesis.
No, well,
we can't know that until we see it, though.
The machines are going after somebody else.
I mean, that's
and Sarah Connor happens to be there.
I didn't think it was going to be as bad as Rise of the Terminator or whatever the third one was called.
Oh, the Rise of the Machines.
Rise of the Machines and Genesis was as bad as that.
The one with Claire Danes.
Claire Danes.
Because you forgot, there's a one in between there. That's the one with Christian Bale.
Yeah, that's
Salvation.
Salvation.
I actually think that one's not that bad.
Yeah,
it's
I totally skipped it.
Okay action movie.
I have not seen Genesis.
Genesis is terrible.
Whatever child that
laughable.
Is really does not like it either.
I was gonna say, is there a kid dying in the background?
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently there's a kid dying in the back.
But yeah, going back to this X-Men issue, there's this really rad scene of a courtroom scene.
Oh, I was gonna say, I love this whole thing. Sabretooth's just go fuck yourself.
Well, okay, so
I love Sabretooth. He's one of my favorites.
To start off, this is at Project Achilles, which is a new maximum security prison, which I feel like if you're calling your maximum security prison Project Achilles, you're basically just asking for trouble.
Yeah, they're named after a famous thing that was taken out very simply.
It could literally just be cut. It's kind of the whole idea.
But Sabretooth is on trial after, killing some dudes and basically getting some information that leads to the current mission on trying to destroy the Mother Mold. And he's, on trial, being defended by this pretty worthless guy. And then, there's this awesome, badass, perfect scene of Emma Frost and the Cuckoos coming in. And I'm just yes, fucking queen. She's great.
Oh, and her lines are awesome when they're like, Miss Frost, and she's like, no. When we are out, you refer to me by my name, the White Queen. I'm like, yes, Mom.
Yeah, and she Emma calls Sabretooth like Victor Creed or Mr. Creed,
Yes.
and the Cuckoos are like, it's Sabretooth, Mom. And so she's like, yes, Sabretooth. It's like, that whole scene is so good.
Yeah, and she's just like looking at her now. She's like, you can't do this. That thing is a killer. And she's like, yeah, well, that thing doesn't belong to you or doesn't follow your rules. And then the woman like pulls her gun, and she's just like, really? That's what you're gonna do?
Yeah.
It's like,
Emma,
do you know who I am?
Emma is perfect. She's so good. That's why like I'm very pro like Scott and Emma. And like this makes me just like excited for her in the long run. I feel like there was like that time and period where like Scott died and she like went evil for a half second and it was super dumb. But like I'm excited for her to be like the White Queen. Like there's like, you know, preview covers with her being a part of the Hellfire Club again. In the Marauders book, like I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, well, it depends. Yeah, it really depends on what our world is. And then we get like our page of how an Omega Sentinel is created, which is really interesting. And I think will tie. I don't think anything is put in here haphazardly. So I think what we see, because directly following that, we are reintroduced to, oh my God, what the hell is her name? Kasima?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we are seeing that she is in the union phase, because I believe she's like talking to herself at some point, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if this is also the same Omega Sentinel that was a part of the X-Men books during Legacy for a while.
Well, she used to have the long
Karima.
hair. Yeah, Karima. They say her name Karima.
Okay, like then yeah, it's totally her.
Yeah, but it's also she has all of the same things of the red character that was in Powers.
Yeah, she's like the
she has the exact same like,
version.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we have them there, and they're like, you know, talking about like, oh, we can't turn it on yet, but if we did, it is not fully installed. And they like the ship is coming in, and they're like, what can we do? It's like, yeah, we can't handle anything. They are definitely going to land. And they're basically like, how do they know? Like, there must be a mole. It's like, there can't be a mole. Like, they're just, everyone's here, and they're just kind of like losing their shit. And then we get like the badass scene where what is her name again? So the Omega Sentinel like calls all these fucking Sentinels to the thing, and she's like, yeah, they're never gonna get here in time. And they're like, all right, time to send him in. Kurt, you go do recon. And he just like bamfs in and just starts fucking shit up. And then he's like, oh yeah, he says like, oh, Karima, what a surprise. And she's like, hi Kurt. And he's like picking sides over. He's like, well, like actually that was all of you, wasn't it? And then he just like bamfs out of there because they're just gonna like launch to like let the thing fall into the sun.
Yeah.
And then her response is like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, it's way too simple. Like, they're literally just doing like the basic thing of like how to take it out. And she's like, it makes no sense. So like, there has to be something else going on.
Yeah.
And then there's like a big rumble, and they're like, oh yeah, and they land. And they're like, literally, like her husband or whatever is like, I guess the only thing I could do is like kamikaze myself. And obviously, and then the last page is we get is like their pseudo Blackbird getting blown up.
Yeah, that's kind of what we have to make from that information. Is that they died also there.
So like they're cutting into the ceiling, but we see like Kurt's like, yeah, they have an Omega Sentinel with like, oh, we'll deal with that. And it's kind of this interesting like scene, and like, oh, they're not behaving like asymmetrically, so like we can't behave that, or like they're not behaving correctly, so like we have to do the same thing, like do stuff that they wouldn't recognize. And that's when he just like kamikazes himself. So it is interesting. I don't to say that this issue I don't think is as good as the other ones. I think it's mostly because there's less that happens. This is kind of like a setup issue. It was
a filler, or not filler. Setup is a much better way to put it.
Mm-hmm. But like I think so. Since House comes out tomorrow, we'll obviously get what happens at the end of this.
Yeah.
I mean, and then we also have like this quote at the end from Magneto. For you to die, you would have to be forgotten, and no one forgets a founder of a nation.
Yeah, does he say that at the end, or is that? Oh yeah, at the last page.
It's like the last page quote.
So it is interesting. I still think like to go again. Like I don't I think those pods are going to come back. I think there's like a bunch of stuff going back. But I just love the intricacies of everything. Because this is the first... I feel like this is the first House book that really like doesn't stray from like the one story. Like we're just kind of... We're seeing the two sides of this one story as opposed to kind of popping back and forth all over the place.
I mean, like, it also makes sense, like, why they did a double shoot of Powers of X.
And then a double of House.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those two powers directly go back to back and then lead directly into this. So I'm assuming we're going to get the same thing tomorrow.
We're going to get some payoff, that's for sure. Like, there's no way we're not. They wouldn't structure... Like, I think you said it earlier, that nothing in this is placed deliberately.
Yeah, so the saddest part of all this is now we have passed the halfway point.
Yep.
So we have both issues 4, issue 5, and issue 6 of both books
We have
left.
6 issues left.
Yep. Savor it while we got it.
This is, I want to say, like, of any, like, I don't know, is this considered a crossover event? Because it's contained really in, like...
No, because it only affects
only these
House
books.
and Power. Yeah.
But there's no other X books currently,
I mean,
right?
like, it would be a crossover event if there was, like, a Fantastic Four, like, House tie-in, but
Yeah,
trying
there's
to figure
have to
out
be a tie-in book.
How would you describe this then?
It's it's
like an event?
It's an event comic that takes place within 2 mini comics.
Okay.
Because I would totally like classify this as an event comic.
Yeah. Well, like I'm trying to think of like other event comics. So like the only other ones I could think of currently, but then I don't know. I guess Doomsday Clock is kind of an event.
War of Realms was an event comic.
Yep.
Doomsday
Absolute
Clock is
Carnage. Absolute Carnage.
Absolute Carnage is a event comic.
But those weren't crossovers as well.
Absolute Carnage is absolutely a crossover comic.
Ooh, good one.
Wasn't War of Realms also a crossover?
Yep.
So I mean, like of a event book that's a non-crossover.
Can those exist?
I mean, like those, like
because like even Heroes kind of crossed over. Heroes in Crisis crossed over into other books because of the fallout, which we don't necessarily know that that's going to happen.
Yeah, Heroes in Crisis sure was an event comic.
Yes. And that's what I was saying. Is like I guess at this point, Doomsday Clock is like kind of a separate thing.
Yeah, Doomsday Clock comes out tomorrow.
You say that.
You say that like it's gonna happen.
I
Have
flipped
you seen
through
it in the store?
I flipped through it. I mean, like, I didn't understand anything that was happening in the book because I'm not wasting my time with that shit. I got too much time in my hands.
Oh my god! So I think that's the second to last issue, isn't it?
Yeah, ideally.
Yeah, I'm wondering if my bet of it not finishing within 2020 is actually kind of doable.
They have what 3 more months?
They do.
They got 4 months.
4 months.
They could do it if they really pull together. They could.
I would
like,
not be
hustle it out.
surprised if it comes out the last week of December.
We didn't talk about this news, but did you hear like the 12, 11, and 10 issues of Shazam got pulled?
Oh, really?
Like what? Okay, so like there's like the next issue and the 3 issues afterwards. Like I could be wrong on like those placement of numbers I just talked about, but basically like the next issue has a placement on the schedule, but the 3 issues afterwards like had like some arbitrary release date that were pulled.
I'm trying to think
because who knows?
The last book that was pulled, and we talked about it, was they said it was because that it had like the covers were wrong because they had stuff for like Year of the Villain, but then a lot of people were thinking that it had to do with like the Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah,
which I could see Shazam having some contact with them. I have not been reading that book, so I don't even know what's going on with it.
Yeah, you would think that like if DC knew that they were going to have a major motion picture centered around a character, that they would at least have the book that character was based on be on time.
You're giving them way too much credit, dude.
That movie came out a while ago, though.
That book came out in April, and there's only been 1 issue of Shazam that has been out since then.
Wait, really? So I think I might be close to caught up on Shazam.
I made that joke to the person that I bought comics from today, and they informed me that an issue came out in June. And I was like, really? Like, because I completely forgot about that. But like, again, like it's not on my radar. But it's like I like the movie Shazam, and I'm like, well, like I'll pick up the comic, not from Jeff Johns, because
I'm looking. It looks like there was
that Jeff Johns miniseries he did a couple of years ago was super bad, and I would much rather read someone else's interpretation of that character.
It looks like there was an issue in March, and they did not put one out in April, but it came out like about like a week later in May, and then a month later in June, and that was the last one.
Yeah, and and Dale Eaglesham is a guy who's not known for being a late artist.
Are they having to like change like a bunch of stuff?
I mean, like, here's the thing: we don't know if Dale Eaglesham like got injured, or if he has some kind of family thing, or if like something happened behind the scenes. But it's pretty suspect that you have two major Jeff Johns books, the only two he's writing, and both of them have huge major delays.
Yeah, usually not a good sign.
Well, the problem is that Johns is also supposed to be kind of, isn't he like involved in like other shit in the DC like non-comic side?
Yeah, it makes you think that like maybe someone like that shouldn't be doing
is he
regular day-to-day comic work.
Yeah, like is he like spread super thing? Because he's basically doing. I think he was supposed to be like him and a couple others were like a team that was basically supposed to be the what do you call it? Like the Feige of like the DC EU before it died.
Ooh, I don't like those words.
I don't know, man. But I mean, again, like Aquaman ain't bad, I guess. Shazam was great. I loved it. Shazam is probably my favorite superhero film this year.
Still gotta watch it.
It's bad. Good.
I know
really
everybody
fun.
says that.
It is very joyous. Like it's exactly what it should be. If it was anything else, I think it would have been a bad movie. Like,
sometimes you just gotta be happy,
And they had great casting. Like the casting for everyone was great. The kid that played Billy was great. Like everyone in it is Gary. Mark Strong is fucking fantastic in everything he does, even if it's a shit movie like Green Lantern. So
yeah.
All right. So why don't we do our debate?
Yeah, let's do that.
So the question I gave the guys was basically, your dream kind of project, if you could pair a specific writer, all right, however you guys ended up doing it, but I thought it was like a writer with a property that they've never worked with, comic book property, what would that pairing be? Is there one of you that would prefer to go first?
Can you give me like a couple second break so I can go use the bathroom?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I can go in the meantime. Or do you want to wait for that?
Well, we can just riff while we're talking.
Okay.
While we're waiting for him.
Okay.
So I am trying to think. Oh, I read, if you wanted to know, did you read, I don't know if you've been reading White Knight?
Oh, dude, no, I actually just picked up the second issue today.
Okay, I just read it before we started. It is really the second issue of the first book, or the second book?
No. I have the Curse of the White Knight right now in my hands. I have the first book. I've read the first book, and I haven't read the second.
The second one is real interesting. Like, I'm kind of digging where this is going. I really liked the first book of Batman White Knight, but the Curse of the White Knight has been very interesting, and I like this world that they've built. I think it addresses a shit ton of issues in Batman books in general.
Yeah. Oh, dude, the whole first book is so good.
Yes.
Fantastic.
We were just talking about Batman Curse of the White Knight, which is one of the Black Label books, because the second issue came out last week, I believe. And it's really good. It's interesting. This is this universe's take on Azrael is being kind of hinted at.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of my favorite, I have this thing where I kind of like the characters that people hate, especially in the Batman mythos. I love Jason Todd and I love Azrael because
I like Jason Todd too. I'm on your side, man.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Man-Bat?
I really liked him in the Justice League Dark book, and at times I really like the character. Do people hate Man-Bat?
I do not like Man-Bat at all. Like
Man-Bat scared the shit out of me.
For lack of a better term, Man-Bat is a total turn-off when I like read a Batman book.
Really?
I mean, like it's he's a mad bat fighting Batman.
You take Detective Chimp serious.
But I was to say, do you feel the same way about the Lizard? Because they're kind of the same guy.
Like
exactly, except different animals.
Not really, because I feel like the Lizard. I don't know. Like I feel like more has been done with the Lizard, and I feel like the name Man-Bat sucks.
Oh, it's a terrible name.
Man-Bat.
There are we can do a whole show on like terrible comic book character names, but like I get that. I like the character of Kirk Langstrom.
And I think it's like when you come to the hierarchy of Batman villains, it's like I mean, you have your A tier and your B tier and your C tier and your D tier. And I feel like, and it could be because of artists I've read or writers I've read who have had their stamp on certain characters. I mean, Jeff Loeb had his stamp on Calendar Man. Tom King has had a stamp on Kite Man. And I just feel like, I don't know, like, I feel like every Kite Man or Man-Bat story I read is basically just like another version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I think if you read Justice League Dark with him, you would start to like that character more. Because it's less like, he's not Man-Bat. He's Kirk Langstrom with like kind of bat midway through werewolfism. Or whatever you'd want to call it. So, but I can understand, like, there are like he can be like a super simplistic character.
Yeah,
but I also kind of put him in the category of like Batman's kind of horror villains.
Yeah.
So it's like him and Croc and Professor Pig and like Scarecrow, like the ones that are more like.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I would rather read a Professor Pig or a Scarecrow story before I read. And to be fair, like, I actually really need to read Justice League Dark. I've been meaning to. It looks cool. I mean, there are like certain Batman villains that don't get like a good defining star for a while. Like, how long did Mr. Freeze exist as a nobody character until
the cartoon?
Until 1992, and Paul Dini writes Heart of Ice.
Yeah, well, because he was a completely different character until that show. Like, he was even on like the old the Adam West show, and he's a goof. Yeah,
and then Paul Dini, Mike Mignola designs this new Mr. Freeze. Paul Dini, writes this new origin for him, and it's like, oh hey, like this is new origin now. It's perfect.
Back when Mike Mignola had good decisions.
Not doing Hellboy 2018.
And not even letting them do the third movie as a comic.
Yep, that'd be too much.
All right, so before this turns into a shit on Mignola fest, why don't we do our discussion? So I would say since Connor won last time, you have the choice of going first or second.
I can go first. Yeah, I can go first.
All right.
All right. So for mine, I tried, as always, I try and bring in somebody that is a little bit more out of the ordinary. And for this one, I chose, I would like to see, what's his face? He's the writer of Sex Castle. I can't remember his name right now. Somebody help me.
Kyle Starks?
Yeah, Kyle Starks. Yeah.
Hollywood Kyle Starks?
Hollywood Kyle Starks. Yes, I would love to see him do literally anything in the Watchmen universe. I want to see someone do a comedy in the most
that's
designated sad boy zone.
I could see maybe the Night Owl and Rorschach buddy cop.
Yeah. Night Owl and Ozymandias in their early days when they're just trying to figure shit out.
Oh, the first Night Owl or the second one?
I mean, really pick your. It doesn't really matter as long as it's like both of them are learning how to be dumb superheroes. Or like a little bit more of a pedestrian one, but like Neil Gaiman doing like X-Men or something like that. Like a little bit more esoteric, a little bit more. Like I like the style of Neil Gaiman's writings. Like he's always done good books. His graphic novels are pretty much just books, from what I can see. Just very heavy on philosophy and word count.
And high strangeness.
And high strangeness. I love high strangeness, man.
But yeah, I actually kind of. I'm trying to think. I kind of love this first idea of like taking like somebody who's doing this kind of funny, goofy, like in this art style as well, like into the Watchmen, which is like so hyper serious.
Mm-hmm.
And
like Kyle Stark's thing is just funny. Like I got a friend to read all of Sex Castle recently. That's why I brought it up.
Like I could like it would be interesting to do like this, but with the comedian.
Yeah, exactly. Just tell his side of the story.
So yeah, I kind of like that. All right, so let's go to John. What is your?
Let's go, John. Even though I've already decided who's won tonight.
Okay.
No, you don't know that yet.
No, yeah. Okay, so I have like a lot of X-Men on the brain because I feel like not only is it like really good right now, but like I'm always kind of like thinking about, man, like who could like have like a really good voice for X-Men, and I feel in the 90s you had Chris Bachalo do art for X-Men. In the early 2000s you had Grant Morrison doing X-Men. You have Pierre Milligan, Michael Allred, like a lot of like really good underground artists, and I feel ever since then you have like Rick Remender do like a really good X-Men run, Jason Aaron do a really good X-Men run, and I feel like the closer you get to indie and underground comics is the best when X-Men is. And I mean, there are like merits to Brian Michael Bendis's run on X-Men, but I think it's like too clean, too professional, too, I don't know if there's like a word for Hollywood. It just, it doesn't have grit to it in the way that you kind of like want in an underground comic, and I feel like that's what X-Men should be. So I think that like a Brian Lee O'Malley or like a return of Jim Mafu, who like did some Gen X comics in the 90s, like I think like they're really good voices on X-Men. Michel Fife, who's currently doing like Capra, who did Ultimate Comics Ultimates. He's also just got done doing like G.I. Joe comic that I hear is like very good, and a Bloodstrike comic that's very good. But like the idea that, I mean, and I'm talking right now as someone who's like a very enjoying a Jonathan Hickman, like AAA, highly like style, like not big budget, slick interpretation of X-Men. And I think that's good for this. But I think at the end of the day, X-Men at its core needs to be underdogs, underground, and I think like the best kind of comics like envision that idea.
Okay, so one, I kind of love the idea of like a Scott Pilgrim style X-Men book, like the look alone. And I guess my first, I'll be like, if you had O'Malley do it, what team would you have him do? Because in my head, it's more like a New Mutants.
Oh yeah, he's doing Young Mutants, New Mutants.
Yeah.
I feel like kind of like almost like a classic New Mutants.
I feel like I mean like I don't know if exactly O'Malley's like dive into X-Men. Based off of like kind of the stuff he's written about, I feel like he's an X-Men fan. I feel like he's more of like a Claremont guy. So you can do like a modern X-Men book with like his interpretation of classic characters, and it still kind of fit. But
Oh, you know what I just thought? I would actually be really into him doing like the first class, like the original like blue team, like in those kind of like original Beast, original Angel, like Marvel Girl, Cyclops, like Snowball looking Iceman would be like really interesting, and to have like Professor X be this like oh man, that's actually an interesting take, because I actually like very much agree with you. Like the X-Men kind of are this.
It's funny you say that, because like I feel like there's like already like a really great X-Men First Class comic that's by like Jamie McKevie, and I think it's Jeff Parker is the artist. But yeah, like I don't know, like I feel like him doing Gen X, or him doing New Mutants, or like him doing New X-Men with like the young students of Xavier School. I think that's like kind of would be like the
best.
Like
that's what I was saying. Is like it's like them. I fil like a book with him. The best part would be like not them going out on missions, but them in the mansion as like students all living together. Like him dealing with like Shadowcat, like popping in and out of panels.
Yeah,
with like it like seems like so perfect. And I was saying is I completely agree with you with like the idea of the X-Men. Like they're kind of, depending on like when you're reading it, I always take them as like a gay allegory, like a homosexual allegory of the time that they kind of came out, and like they're kind of always this counterculture thing to me. Mm-hmm. And I think that is when they are at their best, and I think that kind of style works amazing.
Like that's why, and to be fair, like I think that's like why Ecstatics is so good, is because you had like Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely doing a book like New X-Men, and then on the flip side, you had Milligan and Allred doing X-Force, which was like the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
God, it was so good. It was so weird.
But like the X-Men should be goddamn weird. They are weird. Like
that's the point. It's so fun when it's weird.
And they're teenagers when like they're going through their teenage like puberty, and then also getting superpowers. Like everything should be like messed up and uncomfortable and awkward. And we get mostly adult mutants and like on the X books now. And we haven't gotten like a young, like as far as I know, like a younger team and like their issues in a while. So as much as you said that, John, I would prefer to read your book that you created. Like in this.
Yeah.
I love both ideas. I want to read both, but if it was like a Sophie's choice, I think I want to read, and it's sadly, I think a little bit of it is like Connor, like my Watchmen fatigue.
Mm-hmm. No, I get you. I get you.
But like, no,
John's idea was funnier. I liked his idea. I actually thought about Brian Lee O'Malley too, but I didn't think a good enough idea for him.
Because I think you guys, it's like kind of almost similar things in many ways, but I think the specific like team is where it works better for me.
Yeah,
like the book, like the characters.
I agree with that.
So for your complaining, John, you won.
Hooray!
Congratulations!
Hooray! I complained and I won.
Isn't that what it's about, being an American?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah. Well, that's because you're
Canadian. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh. So, yeah, that was pretty. Wow, those are like I'm actually kind of stunned. Like, those are two amazing ideas. So, I guess that kind of wraps us up. Did you have a thing you wanted to?
I've been wanting like Brian Lee O'Malley to write X-Men since like 7 years ago when I like read Scott Pilgrim Volume 2.
Yeah. Yeah, when he starts doing like the weird X-Men stuff and like the video game references, like hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many characters that like his style would work like great for, like characters that have like wonky abilities.
Yeah. Yeah, like even I'd like him to even do some of the like modern heroes, like Miss Marvel would be kind of fun, or Squirrel Girl or something.
Oh yes, like Ms. Marvel would work like almost too well.
Yeah, that'd be so fun. That'd be the perfect match for me. That would be my perfect
like a new Young Avengers team of like Squirrel Girl. Basically, I can't remember the other characters there, and they're like
Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, Squirrel Girl, Miss Marvel.
I feel like if you
Nova,
if you threw in Laura, what's her name? X-23 in there to just be like the angsty, like doesn't talk kid.
I love it. I want this. I want this.
Like it would
so
also
bad.
work. All right. Did you happen to have anything lined up, John, or need to take some time to think about it?
Lined up for what?
Oh, for your question, since you won.
It's you're the king this time. You're the god Doom.
Oh, like I'm the man now, dog?
You're the man now, dog.
I'm the captain of this ship.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of a question. I didn't even think that was like what I.
Oh, don't worry. You have time. You have a week.
Don't have to spring it right now. All right. So I guess that does it. John will deliver us his question at some point, and you can check that out on the next episode. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts. I do Small World Chronicles. You have the After Darks, the movie reviews. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Tell a friend, leave 5 stars. Check out the stuff that's part of Los Haro. Connor writes over there as well, and there's a bunch of podcasts. So we will check you guys next time. Adios.
I love you.
Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
And now, comics.